Very warm welcome to all of you. We are delighted to see everyone again, and especially happy to welcome Bhante Pemarathana back with us today. Before we begin, we kindly remind everyone to please mute your microphone if you haven't done so. Without further delay, we will now respectfully invite Bhante to begin today's session, the Dhamma session with us. Thank you.
Very good evening to each and every one of you. And thank you, Mahakaruna Buddhist Society, for inviting and coordinating this series of classes. I'm so glad that, every Thursday you tune in and learn these important verses in the Dhammapada. So this collection of verses that we have are the teachings of the Buddha that Buddha has uttered in different occasions. And so these verses were already, recited and memorized by the disciples of the Buddha even at the time of the Buddha as a way of, devices, as a way of tools to train themselves. And we are so blessed that we have the access to the same literature. And so we will try to be familiar with this, the verses, and try to learn the important lessons we can learn to our life. So let me start with today's verse. I selected another important verse today that is more towards the end of the Dhammapada, in the section called Miscellaneous section, and the chapter called Miscellaneous. So the verse number 290. Let me first, chant the verse for you. Mattā sukha pariccāga passeca vipulang sukhang caje mattā sukhang dhīro sampassang vipulang sukhang. Mattā sukha pariccāga passeca vipulang sukhang caje mattā sukhang dhīro sampassang vipulang sukhang. By renouncing a lesser happiness, one may realize a greater happiness. Let the wise person renounce the lesser, having regard for the great. Take a moment to reflect on the meaning of this verse. In our life, sometimes we may have to, or we may have to let go of lesser forms of happiness in order to experience higher or greater forms of happiness. In other words, sometimes we cannot have it all. As in, life is about, selecting or making choices. And sometimes in order to achieve higher forms of happiness, we may have to let go of the, smaller forms of happiness. That is the teaching Buddha is giving here. And sometimes we have to be ready to let go of smaller forms of happiness. Some small pleasures or luxuries when we have a larger goal or maybe a noble goal. But that doesn't mean that we are going to deprive of happiness. Instead, we are going to get a greater happiness. So let's be familiar with a few Pali terms. And here we have the term sukha, which means happiness. I think we are all familiar with the word dukkha, which is the opposite to sukha. Dukkha, we have the same ka there. So dukkha can mean unsatisfactoriness or dissatisfaction or unhappiness, and sukha is happiness. And then here we have another important term in this verse called chaga. Actually, the full term is parichaga, but the chaga is the letting go or relinquish. We are all familiar with the term dana. Dana means giving, and related other term is chaga, which explain the internal side of giving. That means letting go or renouncing or relinquishing, or renouncing or letting go of the grab that we are holding into something. So chaga is what happens in our heart when we give some things to others, or sometimes when we let go. Chaga. And here we have term parichaga. That means also the letting go, but pari means completely. Term pari is a prefix which can have like a completely. So giving up or renouncing, and that is the related term with chaga and dana. And we have an important term here called dhiro, another term for wise person. In Pali, we use few terms to mean wise person. Pandita, dhiro, are those terms, because what Buddha really wanted us to do is to learn these teachings and apply these teachings and being a wiser person in life. And being wise and being wiser is the sign of our spiritual growth. And of course, we have to be kind too. So compassion is the other aspect of this spiritual growth. But we find a reference to these terms quite often in Dhammapada, the concept of a wise person and how a wise person would act in the world, how the white person will make decisions in the world, how he will select things. So it's giving a good example, good ideal for us to strive for, to be a wise person, and at the same time to being a kind person too. So the hero is the other important term. Okay, so with that, let's dwell into this verse. The summary, maybe the very gist of this verse is: let go of lesser happiness for the sake of greater happiness. So you can think about your own life, and we will, I would like to hear from you at the end, in your own experiences, in your own life, and how you've given up smaller forms of happiness in order to achieve higher happiness or greater happiness, even in order to achieve higher goals. So Buddha is kind of encouraging that we to do this here. So in our life, we should set our priorities. We cannot have everything, and so we have a limited life, and we have limited resources. So therefore, we really cannot have everything in our life. So when there are so many things around us, and so many expectations, so many goals in us, we have to set priorities, which is more important than the others. Otherwise, we cannot really plan our life. We cannot really develop our life. It's important to really recognize what are essentials in life and what would be the secondary in life. So this is also about setting those priorities. And we need to sometimes we need to give up certain luxuries in order to achieve our goals. We can think about, even when we think about even the life story of the Buddha and life story of the other enlightened disciples of the Buddha, even life stories of the modern people, modern successful people, we can think about how they have given up luxuries to achieve higher goals. Or even in an ordinary life, when we think about very mundane, very worldly sense, if someone to be successful in their business, they may have to let go of luxuries of hanging around with the friends every weekend and going to places, they may have to work many hours, right? And but of course, here what the Buddha is meaning is not the worldly sense of success, but here Buddha is talking about more higher forms of happiness that we are capable of experiencing as human beings beyond our sensory level. And of course, when you think about going to a meditation retreat, for example, you have to give up so many luxuries, right? And so many luxuries of maybe having to sit on your very comfortable couch at home, right? Or maybe you may have to let go of the luxuries of eating very delicious food, or those things, and so we have to give up those certain luxuries to achieve higher goals. It's not always the case, but usually we cannot have all most of the time. So the question we have to ask, what are our priorities? What are our priorities? How you can think about priorities. I would like to give a set of priorities that I feel like we should have in our life. But I would like to invite you to think about this. If I were to ask priorities, I would put like this. Spiritual growth will be maybe number one priority. Inner peace, which is related to the spiritual growth, will be next priority, and physical health will be another priority. And then family, family relationship, time with family, and maybe social life, like beyond family, having, maintaining good relationship and spending time with like larger group of people and socializing. And then personal pleasures. Personal pleasures means like, indulging in sensual, pleasures, as, to enjoy nice food and enjoy nice, sceneries. So this is the kind of priorities that and I see that we can have in our life. So whenever we have two choices to make, we have to think about these priorities. So I put personal pleasures at the end, but it doesn't have to be for everyone. So we may have to give up some social life, maybe in order to spend more time with family, or we may have to give up some personal pleasures in order to have a good physical health. Sometimes we have to manage our family relationships in order to have more inner peace. So when there are conflicting, when there are two events happening at the same time, what we will choose, which one we will spend our time for. So having these priorities can help us to decide which one to attend, which one to go. For example, today when you plan to attend this Dhammapada class, in this evening, maybe you had other events happening at the same time. Maybe one of your friends asked to come and visit you and to have some good meal and have drink and have a good chat. Maybe you might have told, oh, sorry, we have a Dhammapada class today, and can you come on another day, right? For example, so you have to let go of the pleasure of having that friend around and having good meal with that friend to have learning, to have more understanding. So in our life, we have to make those choices. And so what Buddha is saying that it's okay to let go of lesser happiness in order to have a greater happiness. So I would like to invite you, to this list. What else you can add to this list? What would be other, important things in our life that we can include to this list? Any other suggestions?
Bhante, how about professional career advancement?
Oh, thank you, Brother Billy. Yes, definitely. our work, our profession, and improving our professional, qualities. So I would, put, between number 4 and 5, I will add professional, professional life, advancing professional career, because that's how we serve the world also. Thank you, Brother Billy. Yeah. Anything else? Or any suggestion, okay. I think I have this 1 minute.
Bhante, how about
Yes,
personal,
yes, brother.
how about personal financial goal?
Yes, personal financial goal. Yeah, I think that's similar to the professional life, and maybe they are slightly related, like improving our professional skills, and then personal personal financial goals. Where, brother, where you want to place it? What is the number you would give?
Maybe under 6. Personal pressures.
Yeah.
Lots of fit in there.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. But I will place it even above social life.
Okay.
Oh, I think that's a very important other suggestion by Michelle. Service to others, like charitable work. Excellent. Thank you for including that. Yeah, definitely. Charitable, like volunteering, giving and charitable work. I mean, not simply the socializing with friends, but also, serving others and engaging in charitable work. That will be another important thing too. Yes. Thank you. So those are the things, thank you for those, suggestions. So we, in our life, we may have to make choices, always what to choose. And so having these priorities is very important, because we cannot have it all. Having priorities can help us to make the decisions easily. And so there's encouragement of the Buddha to like let go of lower, maybe lesser forms of happiness in order to achieve higher forms of happiness. For example, like sometimes we may have to let go of some hobbies to have more time with our family. Right? If you have a hobby that requires that every weekend we have to travel other places, maybe okay, but then you will lose the more time to spend with your family. Sometimes we may have to let go of your hobbies in order to spend more time with family, and sometimes we have to let go of some delicious food to maintain good health. You may like certain food, really enjoy it, but if it's not really go well with your body, if you have certain health condition, that food is not really working well for you. So we may have to definitely get rid of the delicious food in order to maintain good health, right? I don't know about durian. I know that Malaysia is full of varieties of durian. I think, I don't know. Durian is quite healthy food, but some cases it could be not healthy. For example, if you have an issue with your, I think, blood sugar, sometimes you may have to let go of that delicious durian to maintain your good health. At least sometimes we have to let go of temporary let go of some pleasures in order to have higher goals or higher forms of happiness. In the same way, sometimes we may have to let go of some habits to have more time for spiritual practice. Like, let's say if you have a habit of watching TV in the evening all the time, and maybe if that is disturbing your meditation practice in the evening, maybe we have to get rid of that habit, of watching TV, and in order to have more time for meditation or more time for reading or some spiritual practice. So these are the simple examples, how we may have to let go of something in order to achieve another thing. And sometimes when we are facing financial difficulties, that happens in life, and we may have to drop some of our pleasures. We may have to balance our budget, and we may have to let go of some of the pleasures that we used to have until we overcome that financial difficulties. So this is what this Dhammapada verse is telling us. To first is to set our priorities, and then be ready to let go of lesser forms of happiness for the sake of higher forms of happiness or higher forms of goals. So that I would like to, in a way to guide us, I'd like to give you these, levels of happiness that we find in Buddhism. And many people think that Buddhism has only talked about dukkha, talk about the suffering or dissatisfaction, but we know that the whole goal of discussing dukkha is actually to overcome dukkha, not to enjoy dukkha, but to overcome dukkha, to understand dukkha, and then to overcome the dukkha by removing the causes of the dukkha. But there are also interesting discussion about different forms of happiness that we can experience in our life, different forms of sukha. And so these are the lists that I came with based on what kind of what forms of sukha are explained in the suttas. So here I put from the lesser, first put the lesser happiness and go all the way to the higher forms of happiness. So this will be another guidance, another guidelines for us to make the choices. The more base, more primary, more base level of happiness would be happiness of sensual pleasures. That is very basic level. Pleasures that we can have through our senses, happiness of sensual pleasures. And then the next little bit more advanced level of happiness would be happiness of fulfilling one's duties. As a parent, we have duties towards our children. As a siblings, we have duties to our other siblings. As children, we have duties towards our parents. As a member of society, we have duties towards our parents. As a professional, someone who is doing a certain profession or certain career, and we have certain duties to fulfill based on your role there. So there is a form of happiness called happiness of fulfilling one's duties, and like giving your time to do your duty really well and benefiting others with your duty, your social duty, family or social duty. Once you fulfill that, there is a personal happiness. That's kind of satisfaction that you will get. Is different kind of joy. And sometimes you get acknowledgement for this duty. Sometimes you don't get acknowledgement, and no matter how hard you work, what kind of sacrifices you made, others may not acknowledge it. But I think if you do it with good intention, and you can reflect back and be happy about that. So that's another form of happiness. And then related to that is happiness of generosity. That means not simply fulfilling duties, you simply be generous to anyone. And then charitable work and giving your time, giving your labor, giving your resources to help the poor, help the disadvantaged, groups of people, help children for their education. So once you see that how your generosity is benefiting so many others, and how others enjoy, how others' burdens are relieved or removed because of your generosity, how other people's life condition is improved because of our generosity, how our children are happy to receive our gifts and have a good education. So then that's a happiness called happiness of generosity. And the other one is happiness of moral integrity. That is the happiness that comes from sila. Once you have moral principles in your life, and you have moral commitment, you have observed sila, not to lie, not to cheat, not to steal from others, not to harm others, and to be mindful of your speech, and also not to use intoxicants. And when you follow these moral principles, and then there is a whole meditation. It's called Sila Nusati, reflecting the one's virtues, moral conduct. And so you have a sense of purity when we follow these precepts, and then you can develop some kind of confidence as a result of one's sila. So there is a form of happiness that we get through following moral principles and sila. And Buddha used this term called anavajja sukha, the happiness of blamelessness. Happiness of blamelessness, anavajja sukha. That towards the end of the life, or even like any occasions in your life, any part of your life, you can take a moment and reflect how you lived by these principles, and then you get a deeper happiness. And then, of course, there are other forms of happiness. So letting go, that means, renouncing, which can be like a forgiving others, and also, giving up, like really giving up our desires, giving up our attachment to things, and what kind of relief that you can get as a result of letting go. This even could mean letting go of our former identities. Sometimes we can be attached to our identities, as a as someone, and sometimes we try to maintain that identity, maintain that self-image, which will be really tiring. And in some cases, we may have to let go. Letting go of anything, that creates happiness too. And then the higher forms of happiness are called happiness of stillness. That is the happiness we get in our meditations when we manage to focus our mind on a selected object, and then let everything calm down and settle down, and no other thoughts, and mind is so still and settled without distractions and moving from one thing to the other. That is stillness, that steadiness of the mind gives a whole different kind of joy that you can experience throughout your body even. So that is called samadhi sukha or vipassana sukha. And then there's the highest forms of happiness is called happiness of insight. We call sambodha sukha, the happiness you get through having a direct experience of the true reality of life, having a direct experience of the true nature of the mind and body. Through meditation, through constant reflection, when we have a direct insight, a spark of insight, like a lightening of insight, to see exactly how this body and mind works, how our experience is occurring. When we have that insight, is the highest forms of happiness, and we get through it meditation and constant reflection. And once we have that insight, we are free from many other mental defilements too. It's more like an enduring, long-lasting form of happiness. So learning about these levels of happiness can help us, to sometimes we have to let go of lesser forms of happiness in order to have higher forms of happiness. So based on that, I think I would like to share with you that we can actually learn this lesson from trees. Here in the Pittsburgh, of course, in Northern Hemisphere, and we already started, the autumn season. Autumn in US, it is called fall. We call it fall because this is the time that leaves are falling. So there's an important lesson we can learn from trees. During this time, all around our Pittsburgh Buddhist Center, many trees have turned really, turn yellow, turn brown, turn red, and all different beautiful colors, like all the colors of the robes. and you can see there are variety of colors that monks wear, and those are all fall colors. And I can see all around our property environment here that there are trees with colors of all different kinds of robes, from yellow to dark brown. So that is the general nature. These trees, these leaves are turning this colorful, and then they will very quickly drop those leaves. And during autumn or fall season, trees drop their leaves. Why they drop their leaves? Trees do this to conserve the water and energy in order to survive during winter. When the tree senses that there are shorter days, like the sunlight is shorter, and then there's the temperature is cold, the tree get the sense that in future, and it has to have to be ready to stay through winter. So during winter, the whole earth, the ground get very dry, and there's not much water left when it's dry. Even though temperature is cold, there's not much humidity around there's not much water even in the air. So it's a very dry weather. All this cold is very dry. So therefore the trees know that they don't have enough resources to survive during winter. So they have to conserve the energy, and they have to make sure that they become easily maintained. So why they drop their leaves is actually as a way of becoming very simple. It doesn't need much energy, much resources to survive during winter, because leaves take a lot of leaves also feed the tree, but at the same time leaves also takes a lot of resources. So the easy thing that they can drop is the leaves. They keep the trunk and the roots, and they lose the leaves as a way of protecting themselves. So what they're really doing is, so they let go of these beautiful leaves, and sometimes these leaves provide nutrition, from the sun to the tree. But what to do, during this winter, you have to find a way to survive. So they let go of the beautiful leaves and just be without leaves, and go to dormant kind of state. But that is how they survive the winter. So they let go of the leaves for the sake of healthy state during winter. This is an excellent example we can learn from the nature. This is what exactly Buddha has said in this important Dhammapada verse. Let go of the lesser happiness for the sake of greater happiness. And this is exactly what leaves trees are doing. Of course, trees get opportunity to grow their leaves back when the spring comes. And sometime maybe our letting go of some lesser forms of happiness may be temporary. Until we develop some good health, we may have to let go of some delicious food. Maybe we can start eat it again, or maybe some cases we may have to let go certain things completely. So actually, a few years ago, I made a nice video about this the lesson we can learn from the trees. Maybe I will put that link in the chat box. You can watch it later. The same message, that I made a video about what we can learn during what we can learn from the fall season. So now I would like to ask from you, what are the forms of lesser happiness that you are ready to let go for the sake of a greater happiness? Anyone would like to share anything? You can type, or you can just open your microphone and tell what are the lesser forms of happiness that you are ready to let go for the sake of greater happiness? What do you think? Can you think about?
Bhante,
Yes.
I would think for the sake of better health, you are ready to let go of food that you enjoy, especially, you have some restriction, like diseases or like diabetes, you can't enjoy all the beautiful desserts or the delicious desserts. So you have to let go. It's happiness,
So
but
yeah. So I mean, I was asking, in our own life, because different people have different, different background, different, situations. So, I mean, are you telling that you are ready to let go of the desserts?
to a certain extent, not all, but try to keep it under control. Really for greater
Okay.
health. Health is
Okay.
happiness. To
Mm.
me, health.
Yes.
So it's you're giving up that sensual taste buds.
Pleasure.
You're giving up. You have to cut down your sugar or whatever spicy food.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lim. Yeah. Anyone else? Any other example? What are the other example of lesser happiness that you are ready to let go?
Let go of my dinner during Uposatha. Let go of shopping, which I used to like to do.
Okay.
Let go of friends as well that are, not so associated with the Dhamma. Yeah.
Thank you, Veena, for that. Doing that reflection and so. Yeah, I think sometimes we have to let go of, some maybe close association with some people. Doesn't mean that we are going to, be angry with them, but maybe maintain some safe distance, right? Set our boundaries, right? Sometimes we may have to do it in order to maintain our own, spiritual health. But maybe the best thing would be once you develop, some spiritual strength, maybe try to help them, try to bring them to the Dhamma too, but which is not easy. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. I think there's one. Maybe I would also like to put the other question that, what lesser happiness that you already have, let go in order to gain your greater happiness. The first one is what happiness you are ready to let go, but maybe you may have your own experience in your life that you let go of, lesser happiness in order to achieve, So I mean, I remember as as a student, when I was studying, I had to let go of so many, forms of, happiness, so many forms of luxuries in order to, have a good education. That's simple. And particularly, when you are, go for meditation retreats, I remember, you had to let go of, so many things, so many, simple luxuries and pleasures. But then at the end, you get a higher forms of happiness. Okay, let me see any other. Or do we have other good example? Letting go of the sleep to meditate more. Yes, yeah, definitely that will be a very good example. Some we call, lethargy or sleepiness. Lethargy is something sometimes we enjoy. Of course, we need, good rest, good sleep too. But sometimes, sleeping too many hours can disturb. May not be helpful to improve meditation. And there's another suggestion: cut down on leisure of traveling and spend more time to cultivate on the spiritual path, especially practicing more bhavana. Entertainment, TV, etc. Yes. Yes, those are the examples. So I think, what we can learn from this verse in the Dhammapada is this lesson that, how in life we cannot have everything, and that is, a common wisdom. And particularly there can be moments that there can be conflicting, conflicting needs that we feel in our life. And then in those cases, we really have to make a choice. And so what this verse is telling us, don't be afraid to let go of one form of happiness, particularly lesser forms of happiness. Okay, there's another good suggestion, putting aside our own opinions for healthy relationship. Maybe we can replace it, maybe like letting go of the pleasure of winning an argument. Sometimes we like to win an argument, just to show that, I'm correct. So we let go of our pleasure of winning an argument for the sake of peace and harmony in the family. Okay, so let's remember that by renouncing a lesser happiness, one may realize a greater happiness. Let the wise person renounce the lesser, having regard for the greater. So what Buddha is saying, that wise people, just like the trees are so wise actually, and if they keep their leaves, definitely they'll be in big trouble. And leaves also, not only be a burden, but also can be dangerous when the snow falls, and the leaves can keep, hold those snow, and then they can get heavy when it turn to ice, and then that can break trees, and that sometimes happens. So the trees are so wise in that sense. I think, so we have to be wise like that. So that's what the Buddha is saying, that a wise person is ready, is not hesitant to let go of smaller or lesser forms of happiness for the sake of higher happiness. So remember that and be wise, and remember this verse and be ready to let go of lesser forms of happiness for the sake of higher forms of happiness. Okay, so with that, I will conclude the lesson, and we can move some discussions. Please ask any questions, anything related to this or not, please ask question. We have a few more minutes. Any questions? So I post the the link for the YouTube video I made about the fall season, so you can watch it later. Okay, any questions, please?
Hi, Bhante.
Yes.
Yeah, how to, I don't know whether you call it influence, but in a way to get people more realize that when they assert their opinions a lot, and the opinion can foster unhappy relationships, but don't seem to realize that, and then it affects a lot of people around them. And I don't know how to, I don't have the, I can't inspire. I don't know how to handle.
How to make people aware that our opinions create a lot of problems.
Yeah, and these people are quite influential, and then when they hold on to the opinions and don't wish to hear others' opinions, they think that they can't take into different opinions, and because they hold influence, so therefore it affects the morale of other people who are around them. Yeah.
Okay, I think Sister Michelle, when Buddha talked about attachment, he talked about different forms of attachment. Whenever we hear the term attachment, we usually think about our attachment to our properties, our attachment to our people. So we think about we are attached to our, wealth, our profession, our people. But Buddha said that, in the 4 forms of, attachment, one is strong attachment called ditti upadana, attachment to views. That's a big attachment. And that's human issue, challenge that we all have to overcome. So attachment to views is so strong, and during the time of the Buddha, and many people were really be able to let go of the attachment to any material properties, and many became ascetics and ready to sacrifice anything. But even after they let go of all these things, those ascetics, those mendicants, was attached too much to their views, and they lost liberation as a result of that. So therefore, Buddha actually encouraged a lot to reflect our own mind, how we have this tendency to identify ourselves with the views. When we have a certain view, and not only we have the view, we create an identity. I'm such and such a person. I'm a conservative, whatever, liberal or whatever. You create an identity, and then you stuck into that identity. That's mind playing tricks on us. I think yeah. So that is why we have to be very, very mindful of the views and opinions, because we can be very attached to that. I think the advice from the Buddha is actually, until we have a direct experience, and we can only use our views and opinions as a guidelines, and we have to have a opinion, we have to have a goal, we have to have some kind of vision to move forward in our life, by reminding ourselves that it is not the direct experience yet. I mean, your question is about how to, educate others. That's really a challenge. Maybe we just learn from them, like saying that how they make their life miserable. Sometimes they can have a really good opinion, really profitable, really nice opinion about the how well we can serve in the world. But if they attach that view so much, as a result, they experience conflict, they experience tension, they experience suffering a lot. Maybe I don't know. So it's very difficult for others to because once you attach to a view, we are blinded. Maybe we can just we have to wait for the opportunity to like bring their attention. How uncomfortable is it for you? And then yeah, I think yeah, maybe that's the only way, just help
I
them to
remember,
understand how. Yeah.
Bhante, I remember there's a story. I think Buddha had met was it someone who was owning land. And then I think that time they were harvesting. So Buddha was going on alms. And then this man who owns the land, he said, you don't even work a day, but yet you're asking for food. And then Buddha somehow he changed the perception. I don't know. I forgot what he did.
Yeah, this is 𝐶𝐧𝐠𝐥𝐢 Bharadwaja Sutta. Yes. So they actually, that is more of how to deal with accusations. So that farmer accused the Buddha for going around and begging food instead of working hard just like him. Maybe that may relate to the opinion also. He may have an opinion, but I think so what Buddha did was actually Buddha did not really counter argue with him. What Buddha did actually, Buddha said, I am also a farmer. Buddha said, I'm also a farmer. I'm also cultivating. I'm also farming. And then he asked, then where is your, other tools that you use for farming. And Buddha took that opportunity to explain him the kind of farming that Buddha is doing, not the outside farming, but inside farming, inner cultivation. Then Buddha was able to explain all these tools that we use for cultivation, and Buddha is using all these mental skills, techniques that we can use for inner cultivation. I think Buddha was able to be patient and be kind to him and be patient and explain very skillfully a different kind of cultivation that Buddha is doing. So he thought that the only cultivation that one can do, only work one can do, is to go out and work in the field. But Buddha was able to help them to understand there's a different kind of work we can do inside, and different kind of cultivation we can do inside. I think, of course, being the Buddha, he was skillful in explaining the other side that he did not see. As you say, maybe we are not that skillful in helping the other person to see the other side that he doesn't see. But we may get some opportunities to just nudge, just give some give some understanding. But I think it's really important lesson for all of us how we can be so attached to our views. We don't have it in a personal experience, but once we have a view, we can be attached to that. So I think even that is why Buddha said that even until we realize the Dhamma for ourselves, we just have to use the Dhamma as a guidance and not to really attach it to argue about it, just to practice until we have a direct personal realization.
Thank you.
Okay, there are a few things in the chat box. Could you, Venerable Sunyanandi has asked, could you please comment on the pleasure of familiarity, which can make it difficult to break habits that are unbeneficial? Yeah, I think for pleasure of familiarity, I think maybe this may be related to maybe our comfort zones. Yes, I think we are when we are very familiar with our own home environment, and when you go to a new environment, and we may have that issue. Sometimes people don't like to go for retreats, because they are very comfortable with their home. They are very comfortable with their bed, very comfortable with their couch. They like to lie on their own, usual bed to have a good sleep. When you go to a new place, they have a hard time of falling asleep. So I think maybe you are referring to that kind of thing. Pleasure of familiarity. That's an interesting term, which can make it difficult to break habits. I think maybe the best, how we can break it is actually maybe, using more mindfulness, because I think the pleasure of familiarity is more conceptual than real. Because things are so familiar to us, we feel comfortable. When you go to a new place, we feel unfamiliar with everything. But if you pay a little bit more attention to really to mindfully observe everything, that mindfulness can allow us to experience the beauty of that new moment. So we don't see the beauty, we don't see the value of a new moment if you don't have a non-judgmental observation. First observe it, first feel it, first be open to do new experience without carrying the old labels. So I think the best the way to break that habits is to bring more mindfulness. And let's say, one simple example would be if you're given a completely new kind of food to eat, you haven't eaten it before, and initially you feel like you're not familiar with it, you are hesitant to eat. But if you use your full mindfulness, let me taste it fully, and you take a bite and you fully mindful about that taste. You don't try to attach that taste to your previously familiar taste, but just being aware of that taste for that moment. And then you will experience the very taste of that whatever food. So in the same way, I think when you go to new environment, new experience, I think being mindful and truly mindful and observing and willing and open to go through the experience can allow us to realize the value and maybe beauty of that moment. Okay, any other questions? I think we have a few minutes. There's one question by Revat, I think, called attachment to let go is also wrong view. I think, can we attach to let go? Yeah, I think it's a contradiction, right? You know, maybe what you call letting go is like renouncing and, you know, losing the attachment. We may have a need to let go. I think if it becomes a problem when we try to do it forcefully, not gradually, not naturally. So I don't think that there can be attachment to let go, but there can be too hurry to let go, or too, you know, forceful effort to let go, and then it can become problem. But otherwise, you know, I think letting go has to be done in a gradual way, had to be done in a gentle way. Because we cannot forcefully let go. Actually, the letting go happens through deep understanding. You know, when you truly realize the real value, you know, maybe when you truly realize that there's no so much of value of the thing that I attach to, you automatically let it go. So letting go should come through realization, through understanding, not through force, not as a requirement. So when letting go comes through realization, it is very natural, very easy, and we can do it. Okay. So I hope that, you know, we covered the whole verse, and I'm so grateful and thankful, and I'm so happy to see all of you, and, you know, learning. You know, we have learned a number of verses now, so we have, you know, a few more verses to learn, and I really appreciate your participation, your commitment. I hope that this lesson of the today's verse will be a really lifelong practice that you can do, and next time when we have a conflicting, you know, situations, you know, remember this verse, and then use the higher, you know, forms of happiness and sacrificing the lesser forms of happiness. So I hope that this, you know, verse can help you through your life, and I truly wish that may you set your priorities, and may you have more opportunities to experience higher forms of happiness. As human beings, we are capable of experiencing more long-lasting, enduring, higher forms of happiness. And I wish you blessings to all of you to have that happiness. So with that, we will share the merits, and let us think about all of our ancestors, all of our departed family members. And today we study the Dhammapada text, the words of the Buddha, and learning the Dhamma, reflecting on the Dhamma is a very meritorious deed. And we want to dedicate this meritorious deed to our departed ones. So may all our departed ones rejoice in our good, wholesome deed today. May they be benefited from our meritorious deed. May they be well and happy wherever they may be. Idang mi ñātīnaṃ hotu sukhitā hontu ñātayo. Idang mi ñātīnaṃ hotu sukhitā hontu ñātayo. Idang mi ñātīnaṃ hotu sukhitā hontu ñātayo. Let us also share our merits with all other living beings, including divine beings and any other beings. If there's any being in this world like to rejoice in our good deed, may they do so. May all living beings share our good deed, and may they be benefited from our wholesome deed. May all living beings be well, happy, and peaceful. Ittavata ca amhi Sambhataṃ puñña sampadaṃ Sabbe deva anumodantu Sabba sampatti siddhya Sabbe bhuta anumodantu Sabba sampatti siddhya Sabbe sattha anumodantu Sabba sampatti siddhya.